Well, Noel, thanks again. Our next presenter founded VerticalNet, was a corporate officer of AOL back in the 90s, ran the internet operations for the John Kerry for President campaign, and now runs a crowdsourced ad agency. So Mark Walsh has done quite well with the internet, but he says the internet is broken. Please welcome Mark Walsh.
So the after-lunch speech, I understand, is always where you guys nap. So you're welcome to go to the edges here and lie along the wall if you need a little extra room to relax. You know, when I was first invited to appear at TEDx, I kind of thought I was going to the Bowie Bay Sox, or the Frederick Keys of TED. For those of you who don't know, those are two minor league baseball teams in the area. But I got to tell you, today has been an awesome experience. I think the speakers here have been absolutely unbelievable. I will shatter that trend, just so you know. So I moved down here from New York a number of years ago. I lived all over the place, but down to D.C. I live in D.C. now. But I'm originally from Baltimore. I'm a Baltimorean, and very pleased to say so. I was a choir boy at Old St. Paul's Church. I went to school out in Brooklynville. I'm on the board of the Baltimore Symphony Orchestra now, but I'm most famous not for something that I did, but for something my mother did. She was the voice of the kid in the "Moore Park Sausages, Mom" commercial. Who here remembers that ad? Well, the reason you do is you probably heard it about 1 trillion times over the 30 years that it ran, so it's jammed into your cortex at the deep reptile level, like all good advertising is. But she is the reason that I consider Baltimore advertising my home. My father also was in an ad agency here for many, many years. But it's great to be back in Baltimore, and maybe as importantly, great to be here at a function like TED. I was in the elevator earlier before the second session started. I was going up to the 4th floor to a conference room they have here for the speakers. And I got in the elevator, one of the custodial staff, the janitorial or custodial staff was in there in her uniform, just her and me in the elevator. And as you may or may not know if you've ridden it, it's galactically slow, so you have a very long time to stare at each other. And just to make conversation, I said, "This building is absolutely gorgeous." And she looks at me with a very sly smile and she says, "It's just concrete and glass." How zen is that? With a kind of a purity, she reminds me that it is just basic materials, and that through vision and passion and design, we heard about earlier, it's turned into a work of art, celebrating a century across the street in Mount Royal. And that Zen sense really kind of suffused me, got me kind of pumped up to talk to you today, because I have some thoughts about the internet that may well be Zen-ish or not. My talk is a modest proposal with apologies to Jonathan Swift. First, some background. I started the internet in 1985, 1986. Back then it was 1200 baud modems, Dow Jones News Retrieval, CompuServe, Prodigy, The Source, Delphi, Genie, Quantum Computer, which turned into AOL. Does anybody remember Genie? Who here was a member of Genie? Okay, I was president of Genie, and the reason I'm not anymore is because of the response, because about 6 people raised their hands. But back in those days, we thought we were changing the world in 1986 because we were giving people access to information that united them in communities. It empowered them through services we were offering, and it made the marketplaces they were part of transparent. I ran an organization that had shopping services, dining, travel. It was the equivalent of Amazon.com before Amazon. We ran a service the equivalent of Expedia.com before Expedia, a service the equivalent of Cars.com before Cars.com, a service the equivalent of CitySearch before CitySearch. It was all 80-character text on a green screen with a low-speed modem, dialing up connection, interacting with people. It was a wonderful time. It was a wonderful time because we didn't lie to each other. When somebody said something to you online, you could actually believe it. When you tried to buy something, you actually were talking to a vendor who cared about you. You were getting information about travel information, to find the right flight to Cleveland from Detroit, or the right vacation package, and the information was unbiased. It was for you. Those days of utopia were fascinating. We really thought that the internet, or the interactive services business, as we called it back then, was going to change the world, and we thought that it was important that that sense of community, that sense of transparency, that sense of empowerment was really a set of core principles that all of us believed in. It was a small business back then. There were probably a few thousand people employed in the entire industry and a few 100,000 consumers out there, domestically or internationally, that believed in it. It was a perfect time. But then the money showed up, and things changed. It became worth a lot of money to have a URL that mattered. It became worth a lot of money to build a store that people bought things on. It became worth a lot of money to find a place to put ads where people's eyes would be attracted to. And I knew that the money surrounding the internet was starting to become an issue when I heard one of my executive friends at America Online say that his son asked him which jet were they taking to Aspen this weekend. And I went to a bat mitzvah where NSYNC was playing for an executive in another internet-oriented company that had gone public at a massive valuation. Things changed because money, as Warren Seaborn said, does change everything. The internet is broken because of that money. And I would suggest to you that we have to purge it and start fresh. It is broken because it is now filled with old TV shows and dancing robots and crap for sale and spam and friends you or I never met. It is filled with junk. Is this really the best we can do? Have I seen like 80 of these ads in the last 2 days? Is that all there is? But it gets worse. The internet shortens learning and promotes plagiarism. If you don't believe me, ask any professor at a local college or high school whether today's students truly delve into what knowledge is all about, truly write the papers they present, truly understand the source of the knowledge they are trying to retain. It truncates complexity with oafish simplicity. I'm convinced someday I'll log on to TMZ.com and see a review of Hamlet that says, Dateline Denmark, they all die, the end. It promotes false conviviality, but generates isolationism. If you don't believe me, watch your own behavior or those who are really into Facebook or LinkedIn or other social networks. They are not part of a community. They think they are. And it gets worse. I spend time in politics. I spend time trying to convince people to vote for certain candidates in politics using the internet. But we now are in a zone of false politics and scare tactics and astroturf, the saddest term I've heard in the last decade, because it implies fake grass, as in grassroots turned fake, as in creating a false sense of community behind a given issue and trying to convince our elected legislators that there are people who believe that. How scary is that? Falsifying vox populi. We polluted the social and political issues and the discourse. It is all now black and white. Did somebody appoint Matt Drudge, the arbiter of what political topics should be discussed? If you go to littlegreenfootballs.com on the right-hand side, or Digby on the left-hand side, you will see all political issues boiled down to black and white. And all of us know that politics is not about black and white. And it's worse still. Every charlatan that can raise money does on false hopes and broken dreams, and I'm not just talking about the ambassador from Nigeria who wants to give me $35 million. By the way, I have some documents outside for each of you to sign to take a piece of that, but we are talking about the fact that the internet has shattered the local store, the local market, the local vendor with Omega suppliers at loss leader prices. I say Omega for a reason, not Mega, because Omega is the end, as in Alpha and Omega. In short, the internet has ruined life as we know it. But how did this happen? How did we get to this point? How did we arrive where I'm making this assertion so many years after I saw the utopian beginning of TCP/IP? We have met the enemy, as Pogo once said, and he is us. Starting from the bottom of this list, anonymity. The internet is an anonymous place. And I would bet everybody here has done something on the internet that they would be ashamed to do in real life. Think for a second. You've typed a comment that was a little snarkier than you normally would do. You've made an observation about somebody's weight or style or mode of dress or education level that you probably wouldn't do face to face. You've pretended to be somebody at a website transaction service that maybe you would not like revealed in the light of day. Anonymity lets us be people we're not and often makes us do things we wouldn't normally do in the social fabric we call the carbon-based world out there. Then look above those lists of contextual advertising, cookies, and PPC. Yes, we let them drop cookies on our browser. They now trace us. They know where we go. They know what we look at. They know what we click on. They know what we like and enjoy and what we don't. And then they present advertising that is contextual, that is supposed to present us with products and services and appealing things that match what the cookies say we have been in. And then they pay per click. They pay for each time we click on something. And those consumers, or rather those commerce platforms and those advertisers, pay per action each time we buy something. PPC, PPA. We have sold our soul to the devil by those clicks and those actions. And the old saw that John Wanamaker, the Philadelphia retailer, used to say about advertising, that half the money he spends on advertising is wasted and he can't remember which half, those days are over because they know exactly who you are and what you do and what you buy and what you want. But there's even a sadder sense of false anonymity because they know who we are and what we do, but we don't think that they do. Privacy is dead. And whether you think it or not, everything you do on the internet is trackable, marketable, and discoverable. Privacy is dead, but we're not really sure of it. And our corporate masters, they want us to stay online. They want to keep us transacting. They want to keep us ID'd and keep us dumb. We are sheep. They want us online. They want us buying. They want us ID'd, but they don't want us to know how much they know about us. And I choose to fight back. A modest proposal on how to save the internet. Let's build a new one with no anonymity. Anonymity is gone. It was gone a long time ago. Let's all admit it and make everything non-anonymous and discoverable. If you need an anonymity for a specific purpose, and I'll touch on it in a couple of slides, you can buy it, but anonymity is gone. Secondly, we'll get compensated, finally, for our attention. We'll be paid when we spend time on something. Because commerce platforms want us to spend time on what they sell, we should be compensated for it in a fair fashion. And lastly, everybody, since we're now non-anonymous, will be held accountable for everything they do, good and bad. No anonymity, paid for attention, accountability. These are the ways I think we should build a new internet. There's a place for us. Somewhere a place for us. Sorry. Anonymity. Where else in life do we crave anonymity? Abused spouses, whistleblowers in a corporation. Sure, there are times when we need to be anonymous. I understand that. But the internet in general can be a non-anonymous place, and we build arenas where people that need to be anonymous can do that. There are ways to do that technologically, and I would suggest we have to start now. We should mimic that need for rare anonymity on the web, but the rest is open because transparency matters. It matters both ways, when I am buying or selling, when I am sending or receiving, when I am commenting or I am generating. These are the important needs for transparency. There's a place for us for attention. Think of the math now. What is our attention worth? Imagine on the web you pay a $10 CPM, that's cost per thousand. So an advertiser like Avis is going to buy a banner ad on WashingtonPost.com or Sunspot.com, and they're going to pay $10 a thousand. Well, $10 is 1,000 pennies, so effectively they're spending 1 penny for each 1,000 people that they reach. And let's pretend I look at that Avis ad and I spend a minute on it. Well, last time I checked, that means that my value is 60 cents per hour. Well, last time I checked, my lawyer charges more than 60 cents an hour, my accountant charges more than 60 cents an hour, my house cleaner charges more than 60 cents an hour, my babysitter charges more than 60 cents an hour. Our time is worth more than that. We are being shunted into a CPM model where our time and attention is effectively uncompensated. We must be compensated for our attention when we choose to buy something, because if we're transparent and non-anonymous, and they know a lot about us because we all know everything because we're not anonymous, we should be compensated for that. And there's a place for us for accountability. Think about the time that you've been hung up on by the rep. Why do they know everything about us, but we know nothing about them? Who leaked our data or sold it to spammers? What's the name of the rep that just hung up on us after being rude? What do politicians do with the money we give them? Why do we know that Meg Whitman, the founder of eBay, didn't vote for 24 years, but I can't tell what my congressman really voted on and how he cut the backroom deal to do so? Why do we know about voting patterns and not the voters themselves? Where's the accountability? Is there another way to get a free credit report? F-R-E-E spells free, creditreport.com, baby. It's a scam now being pursued by the FTC, finally. Anonymity, attention, accountability. Anonymity isn't free, attention has a price, and misbehavior has consequences. That is my political campaign for the internet. It's my attempt to buy a return ticket to the utopia that we once saw in this interactive platform that had such promise. But can we? Are the dark forces of government and commerce too far gone? Yes, I know the word too is misspelled. I'm sorry. Just in case you were going to tell me later. Is the toothpaste out of the tube? Have we set up a system that rewards lack of anonymity, lack of accountability, lack of transparency too much? Can we get back what I saw in 1986? Can we get back the humanity that mattered when people first logged on that first time? The outreach, the sense of excitement, the sense of value? Can we get back the empowerment that the internet is really all about? Bringing buyers and sellers together in ways that are empowering, bringing people that need something to places that provide it in ways that are empowering, bringing social issues and social justice and social access to people that desire it. Can we reach back to a time that's transparent, back to the web? Can we once again be in the business of what I believe the internet is all about? Can we once again get back to just concrete and glass? Well, to quote my favorite politician, yes, we can. Thank you very much.